What's going on, everybody? My name is Ben, and welcome back to the bench for a brand new episode here on our 1/48 scale F3H Demon. Today we are jumping back into the kit, and I'm hoping to continue with the cockpit, trying to get that primed, painted, a little bit of detail work as well, finish that off, so next episode we can maybe weather it up and get it into the fuselage. So yeah, I think we have a work cut out for us today though. So first off, let's go ahead and jump in there, and I want to work on some of our sub-assemblies and try to add a little bit more detail to the fuselage. Now last time I did end up adding in 2 additional vents. I drilled those out, went ahead and put in a small strip of internal trunking just to make them look a little bit better. We still have to go ahead and do the same thing with the upper square vents where we usually have the oil leaks, but that shouldn't be a problem. Now last time I went ahead and added in a small strip of our plastic Q-tip and of course some clear UV resin, hit it with my UV light, and we were good to go. I don't think I'll be doing that on the square one. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it alone, just drill it out so it's a bit more detail and it looks a bit more 3D. Also, I was noticing on the back of the tail, we have these molded in plates, and these are supposed to be attached to the ailerons themselves, not to the fuselage. And I'm thinking about adding in the ailerons slightly tipped up, so that might be kind of fun to go ahead and remove that and to scratch build it so I can glue that to the inside of the aileron and not mold it into the fuselage. So yeah, should be pretty fun. But let's go ahead and jump in here, guys, to our first time lapse. I want to work on the sub-assemblies. I want to start doing a little bit of detailing here on different parts, clean up some of the areas. Plus, I really want to go ahead and drill out and customize our air brakes. That needs to be done because otherwise it looks a little bit weird. So let's go ahead and work on that. And of course, any other fuselage work I can figure out and some detailing and get that engine assembled and ready for installation. So let's go ahead and jump in there, guys. Let's get this party started. Let's work on our Demon. And we are back, everybody. So far, so good. We are moving right along, and I'm going to go ahead and move over here to the engine. I've noticed that the angle of the burner can is not correct. That is something that kind of annoys me, to be honest. What I want to go ahead and do and try to correct that and bring it up a little bit so it sits parallel with the rest of the fuselage. Not sure how to work that out, probably carve out the internals just a little bit, do a little bit of sanding, and hopefully we can get that lined up a bit better. But no worries, we're going to jump back in there, we're going to fix that, work on some of the customizations, some of the cleanups, and yeah, move on then to the cockpit. All right, let's keep it going. Now moving right along here, guys, we're going to switch over to the cockpit because there's quite a bit of work to do there, and I want to really make sure I can get this thing looking a little bit better. Luckily for me, we've got our Demon references, and these have been a huge help, and what I want to go ahead and do is work on the instrument panel and do a bit of customization. Now I mentioned last time that the instrument panel for the Dash 2M wouldn't have had the radar scope, so instead we're going to go and do a little bit of customization and take some artistic license. We're going to actually base our instrument panel off of this right here, which is the F3H Demon. Now there's no radar scope here, it's actually just a blank off plate, and it's got a little bit of a range indicator right there, which is what the radar for the 2M is supposed to feed into the gun sight. So I figured, you know what, let's just go with it and see what we can do. So I'm going to jump into our next time lapse. We're going to scratch build a little bit of a plug that goes right on top of that, remove our existing radar scope, go ahead and start painting, priming, and getting this thing detailed, and hopefully looking a little bit closer to what it might have been in real life. Let's go ahead and jump into our last time lapse, do a lot of work there on the cockpit, and get this thing one step closer to being closed up and looking like a demon. All right, let's push on. All right, everybody, so we are back and we have finished off painting the majority of parts there in the cockpit. So I'm actually pretty happy with what we've come up with. Now, most of these parts and pieces are very well detailed, so it was not difficult to paint. Everything has a nice 3D relief, so I was able to get in there and just do a little bit of detail painting, and then of course just some basic dark gold gray for the cockpit floor. Used a NATO black for the instrument panel, for the coping, and for the seat. I think that's looking pretty snazzy. We also went ahead and put together our engine and painted that and primed that. Not that you're really going to see much of it on the inside, but it is done. I also was able to install our air brake wells. As you can see, those are nicely glued into place, a little bit of detail added in, and I went ahead and I filled the openings for our mid-air refueling probe. That's not going to be used here on this particular version. Also went ahead and drilled out the opening there for those squared off vents, and I think those look okay. Now, I did mention that the engine was a little bit off on this angle coming out of the back of the fuselage, and I have cut away a lot of the supports on the inside, and I think I can go ahead and get that a little bit more parallel to the fuselage. I think it looks a little bit better that way. Now, I don't know how that's going to fit in with the undersurface of the tail. That is a separate part, but we're going to get to that maybe next episode. We can figure it out. Kind of strange that it would be that much of an angle, but it is quite noticeable when you compare the Demon here in the kit to the Demon, say, in a picture. That engine is not supposed to be angled that drastically. So a little bit of correction I think is going to do a lot of good if I can get it to fit. If not, oh well, it's one of the idiosyncrasies of this particular model. So it is what it is. But I have high hopes I can get it taken care of. I also went ahead and created 2 hinge plates, as you can see right here. This is actually taken off the molds here on the fuselage. These plates will go on the outside of the ailerons and then will be pushed into the aircraft, and I think we'll be good to go. Then we can pose them in any orientation we want. I also went ahead and drilled out all the openings there on our air brakes, and that's going to allow for our perforations on the photo etch to show through, and I think it's going to give it a very nice 3D effect. So yeah, I think it's well worth the time. And then onto the cockpit floor, we've got our seat in there painted with NATO black and dry brushed. We've got our cockpit floor and our control stick painted up. We used a dark gold gray for that by Vallejo, so those look all right. And for the side consoles, same thing, NATO black for the instruments and the controls, and then of course a dark gold gray for the rest of it. And these are going to drop right into the side of the ejection seat. And let me go ahead and just put these in here for you and get an idea what these look like. I think it looks pretty cool. We did the same thing for the side consoles, painted in a NATO black with the dark gold gray for the sides of the consoles themselves. And as you can see, we can go ahead and drop these right into place, and you can get an idea about just how detailed this cockpit comes right out of the box. Because honestly, there are a lot of nice dials and switches molded into the details. So I'm very happy with how this has turned out. And for the instrument panel, as you can see, I painted everything up with the NATO black, went ahead and came back in, added some insignia white and some red, dry brushed it with silver to give it a little bit more detail. And yeah, I think I like the look of this decently. It's not perfect, mind you, and I don't really know what this would look like in real life, but we removed that radar scope, added in that little blink off plate, and I think it fits the bill. And then for our back decking here underneath the canopy, we've got a nice coat of NATO black on there. We did a little bit of dry brushing with some silver, made some of the details pop, and yeah, I'm happy with it. So that is it, guys. We are done for today. We've done quite a bit of work, got the cockpit more or less painted. So I think next episode we can come on back and start adding in all the extra parts and pieces into the fuselage, get the nose built up and get that installed and get the fuselage buttoned up. We still have to figure out that engine though, so that's going to be a little bit of some trouble, but I think we're on the right track. We're moving along, and that's all that matters. To be honest, even with this kit's inaccuracies and slight little issues here and there, the part fit on this kit is excellent. I'm having a blast building it up, and I hope you guys are enjoying coming along for the ride. So next episode, we're going to finish off that cockpit, get that installed into the nose, get everything buttoned up in the fuselage, and well, we'll be on our way to getting this Demon one step closer to being finished. So until then, guys, you know the drill. Get out there, get yourself some bench time, have some fun, build something cool. Make sure to come on back for episode number 4 here on our F3H Demon. So until then, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon.